All right, welcome back in. Ryan Ripken Show, episode 36. We got a full house again tonight. We got Rocco's back in his chair. Rocco.
Welcome back to the studio.
Great to be back.
Buddy.
I couldn't handle the slander being away from the studio another week. So
yeah, now the light bill's going up because we had to turn your spotlight on.
Oh, nice.
That's besides the point.
Well, I'm not
welcome back.
Contributing or paying anything with that. That's Brad and Rip can handle that.
Yeah, well, hey, Rocco's there. We got Zach back in his same spot. Nothing's changed there.
Except the lights.
Except the lights in the back.
I made the lights turn different colors. You're welcome. That was an executive decision. It was hated on.
No one really hated on it. Just no one cared as much as you did. And maybe that will draw in some listeners, viewers tonight. We'll see. You guys can be the judge. And then behind the scenes right now, as always, Brad, are you still here?
What up? What up?
There he is.
Yes. So Zach, the rave, I'm still not sold on the rave. I was the quote unquote hater.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you.
We'll see.
It's gonna get people's attention.
Start it up in the comments, people. Speaking of which, I do have our polls are already starting. My first question of the night is true or false? Joe Flacco will win a playoff game this year.
Wow.
And that is in the poll. So far, we got one vote. I'll leave it up there for a little while, but somebody thinks that Joe Flacco will win a playoff game this year.
What were you going to say there? Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Soupy.
Okay, Brad.
I also wanted to address this. So Shekel is watching from a very far distance away. I'm going to take my guess and say that he is watching from Alaska. He's 5 hours behind.
5 hours. Yeah, I don't know what 5 hours is. I'm not
It's 2:00.
Alaska would be impressive.
If you guessed Alaska correctly, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out here in a second. But hey, let's move quickly here because our guest, Shawne Merriman's going to be coming on at around 7:15. But so we're
give that a little bit more of a tee up, man.
Well, okay. So teeing it up for the Marylanders here. Shawne starred at the University of Maryland and was taken in the first round and went to the San Diego Chargers before they became the LA Chargers. Had a great career there, was the defensive rookie of the year, all pro. And now, what?
Dog.
He was dog.
Absolute dog. But he is a Maryland guy from the area, from the community. And to see him have the career, and he's got a lot of great insights. So we're excited to have him on. So that will be coming up soon. And there's been a lot of spiciness specifically around the NFL and even college football as well. So we'll get that type of perspective that maybe you guys are curious with, because let's just face it right now, it's fall, it's winter now, and football is alive and well, and maybe too alive and well, depending on who you talk to. And right now we're going to go through our spicy topics, have Shawne on, have our conversations, and we're going to jump into that wild Ravens-Rams game yesterday, guys. So we'll save everyone's thoughts for it. But for right now, the biggest talk of our spicy topics to start the show off happened with that Bills-Chiefs game. And what I'm specifically alluding to is the offsides on the offense penalty on Kadarius Toney that negated an unbelievable play by Travis Kelce. And then it wasn't necessarily that people were talking about the play as much as what happened with Patrick Mahomes after the play as well. And I guess you have the play right here, Brad.
Yeah. So if you can take a look here, the bottom of your screen, you can see Kadarius Toney's his foot's right on the line there. You can't even see the football from where his helmet is, and his helmet's almost touching the other Bills lineman here as well. And you can kind of see the play. And this is what there's your flag. So you see the flag here right in the middle of the screen towards the left, right where that line of scrimmage is. You see the flag come up. So the flag comes out well before this play even really gets started. And so this is kind of what Patrick Mahomes was super pissed about. Obviously, you don't want to see a flag come out here when a play goes off just like this. I mean, unbelievable play.
That was
incredible play. But at the same time, you got Kadarius Toney that was clearly offsides, and it wasn't even like it was close, right? Like he was very much offsides. And this is a play that officials have been calling all year long. This is the 12th one that was called. And look, if you're on the offense, this is the part that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't have the video where we saw Patrick Mahomes reacting to Josh Allen, but I do have the post game coverage of what he said after the game. So take a listen.
It's obviously tough to swallow. Not only for me, but just for football in general. Just to take away greatness like that. For a guy like Travis to make a play like that, and who knows if we win. But as I know, as fans, you want to see the guys on the field decide the game. And that's why last week I didn't say anything about the flag that didn't get called on the Marquez. And so, they're human, man. They make mistakes. But, it's every week we're talking about something, and all I can do is go out there and give everything I have, and I'm proud of the guys because that's what we did, and it was a great football game that ended – another great football game that just ended like that. It's just tough to swallow.
Patrick, what do you – for lack of a better term, what made it boil over? Was it that itself, or was it
it's the call, man. Just in that moment, it's not even for myself or for me. It's just I know how much everybody puts into this game, and for it to happen on a flag change the outcome of a game. In that moment, I've played 7 years, never had offensive offsides called. That's elementary school. We talk about. You point to the ref, do all that different type of stuff, and it doesn't get called. And if it does, they warn you, and there was no warning throughout the entire game. And then you wait till there's a minute left in the game to make a call like that. It's just tough, man. It's lost for words, man. It's tough because regardless if we win or lose, man, just for it to end with another game, we're talking about the refs, man. It's just not what we want for the NFL and for football.
And I would be okay with everything that Patrick Mahomes said if the call was a bad call.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no way that I'm going to be giving anybody a pass because they didn't get warned about being offside. The defensive side of the ball never gets warned for being offside. This all the blame, all the anger should be pointed directly to his wide receivers, to Kadarius Toney in particular. The guy was actually offsides all night long. It just so happened that this one was the most egregious one that they had seen. So you don't deserve to get a warning for being offside. You just don't. And it's something that you're taught to do. You okay with the line judge, and you just didn't. You just blatantly stepped over the line and you took off from there. So I don't feel bad for the Chiefs for this call in particular. If it was a blown call, if it was one that didn't make any sense, sure. But this one was clear, cut, and dry to me. What say you fellas?
Yeah, we'll go around the table here real quickly. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree with Brad. It wasn't an egregious call where it was something like it was 50-50. The refs made an opinion, a judgment call. He was a foot offsides. He was blatantly in the neutral zone. The ref threw the flag before anything happened. Now, if this was something where play happens, then the refs come together and then throw the flag, I can see us having an issue where it's like, wait, why didn't this happen? Yeah. It happened the second the ball was snapped, the ref threw the flag. He has no clue what's going to happen. Then the play happens. He goes up like they always do and go, nope, coming back because he was offsides. Just like they do with every other penalty that calls back a touchdown. It just sucks that this was in a big moment, and it sucks that it was on a really cool play. I think that's the biggest thing. If this would have just been a Hail Mary to Toney for a touchdown, then whatever. I think it would have been, oh, that sucks. But it was a really cool play, so people are like, that sucks that gets taken away.
Yeah, Rock, go ahead.
I think that, to your point, Zach, if it was an incompletion, this would have been swept under the rug. Nobody would have been talking about it. The fact that it could have been one of the coolest plays that we've seen this season with the Travis Kelce lateral, perfect spiral to Kadarius Toney, and then he scores.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Mahomes' heat of the moment was frustrated, and that carried over. And I'm not giving him a pass at all, because when he said elementary school stuff, this is the stuff we learn in elementary school. Yeah, you're right. When I officiated high school football, I knew you're gonna give me that. Not making it about me, but I am saying, like, high school football, you're taught to check in with the ref on the side. That head linesman or the line judge, as a receiver, you look over and you say, am I good? And you go, okay. Or they line up off where they're not on the line. So they're not covering up a tight end or a lineman and they go, I'm off. Am I good? Yes. Am I good with the ball? Sure.
Yeah.
It's a courtesy to ask.
Mhm.
And if you're lined up off sides and I'm an official and you don't look at me, I can throw the flag because it is a penalty right then and there. So we bash the officials. We talk about how bad they've been all season long in the NFL, and it's been crazy with that and the fines and lack thereof. But this was a good call right there in that moment. Regardless of the result, he threw the flag when Kadarius Toney was basically hugging the Bills player like he was that close. So I have no problem with the flag at all. I don't see why Patrick Mahomes is so frustrated about this call.
Well, I understand why he's frustrated. You're a competitor. You're pissed. You're about to take the lead against the Buffalo Bills, and all of a sudden, whammy, comes back. Then you get shut down. Then the game's over, and you lose. And the Chiefs aren't really used to losing multiple games in a row recently over the last year. So they've been a team that finds a way to they win these types of games. Now they're on the other side of it. I think with this case, the officials part of it, warning, no warning, whatever it may be, it's such an interesting dynamic of a conversation because people are either mad or not of not checking in, of giving a warning, but the call the officials made was right. Right. So I think that's the part where people, whatever side you're on, you can't argue the fact that he was offside. You can argue they didn't give him a warning, but the officials didn't miss the call there. They could have missed calls earlier, but they did not miss that call. Chiefs lose. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I'll tell you what, you think any umpire or ref or official too, I mean, you guys have told you about baseball. You can go back and watch. You think the referee, you're getting that call back too, by the way. Like, it happens. It's a part of the sport. It's the human element. But in this case, this human element saw it right and they got it right. So we could talk about it for a while. But can you guys believe the Denver Broncos are one game back?
I love it.
One game back.
Dangerous. Dangerous.
Well, maybe with our guests coming on, we can ask them a little bit about the other team we thought that possibly could be in the discussion. The Chargers are not necessarily having the year that they want.
I really thought they were going to go to the AFC Championship. I really before the year, the Chargers were my pick to be potentially take over the Chiefs and grab the 1 seed. It's just been sad.
Would you take that over the Ravens? Well, I think that's an obvious answer. Yeah. I think it's time then, if he's ready. I think he's back there too. The guy that we've been waiting for, that you guys are probably tuning in to wait for. Brad, is he back there? Or Sean back there?
He is. Here he is.
Sean, how you doing?
What's up, Sean?
What's up, fellas?
How are you doing? Where are you tuning in from? LA?
No, I'm in Vegas.
You're in Vegas.
Ooh,
okay. You ever come back to Maryland often, back to the roots?
4 or 5 times a year. I just had my 21st annual winter coat drive at the University of Maryland that I come back for every year. But I'll go to one game and I'll go back. Well, my family is still there in Maryland and DC, so I ain't got no choice. If I don't, my family will kill me. So I got to, I always got to come back to the crib.
I feel you on that. Right now, my parents, I'm in Maryland right now, and my parents keep telling me if I leave Maryland, I better be back. So I can relate. You mind just opening that up with it? You decided to stay local in college. And then correct me if I'm wrong here, you really came on the scene your junior year. I think your freshman year, you were pretty solid, and you came in under the fridge, right?
Yeah.
The fridge. Can you just talk about in this day and age of the development of your game? And that I think so many people nowadays expect that you're just going to come in and be a beast off the get-go. But for you evolved into a player that maybe you or no one would have expected, 2 years later after your freshman year.
Yeah, well, what happened to me in my case, I would think I was a 3 or 4 star recruit or something like that coming out of high school. I won what they call All Met. I don't know if you remember All Met. So it was number 1 player coming out of DC, Maryland, Virginia. And that's huge because you remember it was a lot of talent around that area, those areas when I came out. And so, to win that award, being number 1. So I was highly talented coming out of high school. Now, what happened in college is I played off the ball my entire life. I've never played DN. I never rushed a pass. So I didn't. They said just one day, hey, playing outside linebacker, we want you to rush the pass. So I'm like, okay, how do I do that? I didn't even have a sack all high school. So it was a little bit of a learning curve, but also too, it was part of, I came in with LeVar Arrington and Ray Lewis as mentors, and they were on campus coming to see me. And so it was one of those things where the coaches knew, especially Rob Friedgen, knew that I was going to go to the draft and leave early. In fact, during our freshman orientation, we all had to stand up at our first day in team meetings and tell everybody who we are, where we came from. I let everybody know that day. And so that didn't sit well with, the coaches and stuff like that. Like, hey, look, I'm only going to be here 3 years. I'm just letting you know that now. And it didn't sit well with a lot of people. So their goal is to sit me on the bench as long as possible so I wouldn't leave. And I was still averaging 7-8 sacks in the ACC, top 3 coming off of the bench my freshman, sophomore. And I finally, what happened was, and kind of the first time I'm ever talking about this, I went to go tell them that I'm transferring if I'm not starting. I'm going somewhere else. Mike Loxley, who's the head coach there now, was at Florida. And so I was prepared to transfer out of Maryland and go to Florida, where I know I'm going to start and get some playing time. Because to be, top 3, top 4 in the ACC every year coming off the bench wasn't sitting well with me. So finally, when I started my junior year, I had a big breakout year. People started noticing me around the country more. But everybody knew, my teammates, coaches, everybody knew that I was a 3-year guy. And that's kind of was the gift and the curse of me in general.
Yeah, well, hey, that leads me to the next part of this, because nowadays you think of the NIL and transfer portal and all of this. Some people, it's the best thing for them. It can lead to the next best opportunity. Some people, though, are chasing it just for the money. But in your case, you just wanted the opportunity to play. Do you have any stance on how it's kind of evolving right now in college football?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the Wild Wild West, man. I think that at some point they're going to have to start putting some restrictions on what guys are doing, because the best decision I've ever made is never transferring outside the University of Maryland. That was my home. I grew up 20 minutes from the school, and we grew up poor and homeless. Everybody in the area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, knew my story as a kid, because I had high school specials. I don't know if you remember back in the day they had the high school machine, the top players, the highlights. It came on. I think it was like Saturday nights and stuff. And so I had this hype and stuff coming out, and I never wanted to leave Maryland. I actually verbally committed my junior year when I was at Frederick Douglass High School up in Marlboro, Maryland. So I didn't take a visit. I didn't go anywhere. And honestly, man, that was the best decision I made. And I can't imagine if one day somebody offered me a couple of bucks, I go to Miami, I go to Florida, go to Alabama or Florida State or something like that, and it's the same thing happen. You see some of these guys in the transfer portal don't even play, or don't even get picked up, or whatever the case is. And so I understand that, the student athletes, they want to transfer because of whatever reason, money, playing time, team, coaches, whatever it is. I understand the opportunity to transfer. What I don't like is that they're still kind of young adults. I'm not going to say kids, because I hate using that word. They're young adults that haven't figured everything else out yet. And so maybe it might be a driving factor, outside driving factor, that's getting these kids or young adults to transfer because they don't like the situation they're in for a split second. They woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Coach may talk to them a certain way. They didn't like it. Oh, I'm going to leave, right? And so that's not always a positive thing either. So it works both ways. In my case, man, I'm happy that I did stay, because Maryland's my home. That's my backyard.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Sean, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Super pumped to have you here. And I don't know if you caught the tail end of what we were speaking of in last night's game with the Chiefs and just the officiating and everything. And I would say it doesn't feel like you're too far removed from the NFL, but so much has changed in even that short period of time with officiating. What are your thoughts on that as far as how things have evolved? Has the game gotten better because of the changes in rules and officiating, or is it just the same thing? It's just in a different package.
I think that the NFL did a hell of a job at protecting players. And I don't like all the rules. There's way too many rules. But I do think they changed the game for the better. I mean, these head injuries and guys having problems down the road. We wasn't very knowledgeable about the possibilities of the long-term effects of some of these injuries. So I think the NFL did a great job in that. What I don't like is I just think the refs have way too much power, right? Way, way, way too much power. And there's no there's nothing can happen to them for whatever call that they make. They're protected way too much. We've seen refs getting the player's ear and kind of approaching them and kind of egging them on to do something so they can get a penalty. We're seeing a lot, right? And there's no repercussions to these refs making these bad calls. We get it. There's some kind of human error to football, right? When these refs, you're gonna miss some calls, but it's gotten to the point where it's so blatant and there's no repercussions for their actions, whether it's intentional or unintentional, that's causing them to make better decisions. That part I don't appreciate. We've seen too many games decided. Big plays, right? We ain't talking about just the offsides that the Chiefs had, even though that I think that was fair. They made the right call on that because if Tony actually, the wide receiver, he lined up 3 or 4 times offsides. People don't know that. Mm-hmm. He lined up that game. That if you look back at it, he lined up offsides at least 3 times outside of that one. And so I think that was fair. It was justified in their actions, but you having some of these calls, man, that are ultimately decided and affecting the game. That part, I think the NFL at some point in time is going to have to step into and say, guys, this game is not about you. People don't pay their money to come and see you throw flags. People come to watch the players play. And so they're getting way too involved in the game, I feel.
Hey, Sean, it's
there he is.
Yeah, good to talk to you, man. Again, talk to you during your coat drive, and it was great stuff. I'm really glad that all worked out, and it continues to work out for you. I know you're at a lot of Chargers games. I see your social media, and you do interact with the fans, and you go to these games. The Chargers have now lost 4 of their last 5. You have the Justin Herbert injury now. This team had such high hopes going into the season. I want to ask you this. Do you sense a growing frustration with this fan base week after week? Where is that frustration level right now? And how do you fix this team going forward?
Yeah, you're right, man. I've always been very, very close to the fans. I believe that the fans make this thing go. Even when I'm going back and forth with Raiders fans, Dallas fans, Dolphins fans, whoever it is, I love the fan interaction because without them, a lot of this isn't possible. I mean, without you guys having the fans you have, nobody's listening to what you guys do. And so the fans are the most important part about what we do. That being said, I think the Chargers did a hell of a job at rebranding their fan base, transitioning their fan base to LA because there was a lot of people who were unhappy at the move. A lot of San Diego fans that were just not supporting the team no matter what because of the move. And there was a lot of people not coming to the games because they just felt like the team and organization wasn't going in the right direction. So I think they did a hell of a job at getting people back there involved. I'm at the stadium. I don't care what people say. And they try to, remember the old pictures they used to show where like it was 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, it's not that anymore. It's a 70-30, 80-20 deal. And don't get me wrong, certain teams just travel better than others, right? If you play the Steelers, if you play, the bigger fan bases that they're going to travel well. That Buffalo Bills game, there's going to be Bills fans all over the place because I played there. They travel well. They support. And also, too, LA is a melting pot for everybody in the country, right? No one's leaving California and going to Kansas City for the barbecue. They ain't doing that, right? So, the only time they go to Kansas City if they got a high-paying job or, something that calls their family, whatever it is, to leave California to go to Kansas City or, Wisconsin or whatever it is. So they're always going to be that. So I don't care. 20% of the fans is going to happen because LA, California in general, is just a melting pot of everybody. But they've done a hell of a job. Now, my biggest fear now and what's going on, the scariest part is you can start losing a lot of those fans because they feel that you're not taking action into being better, right, for the team play. Because I never call for anybody's fire, right? I'm not ever, even as bad as it's been the last, several weeks or so with the team. I mean, beating, the Patriots 6-0 the week before. I mean, you don't feel it's a win. You don't feel good about it. So my biggest fear is because I'm always fan-oriented, fan first, is you're going to start losing the fan base that you successfully built because they don't see any changes made. Brandon Staley coming out at their press conference and saying, hey, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. No, the shit you're not, right? No, you're not, right? You're not. You got what the fans want to hear is right when I'm done with this podium, as soon as I get off of this stage, I'm getting in the locker room and changes will be made immediately. That relaxes everybody, right? That makes everybody feel good. No matter if there's some tough losses, you guys have been playing well. You say that and the fans say, you know what? there it is. We can support that. When you come and say we're not changing anything, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, and you getting your ass kicked, you're gonna lose some fans that way. You're gonna lose a lot of support. I like Brandon Staley personally. I was one of the guys that he called when he got hired. He called me the night he got hired, and we talked on the phone for about a half an hour. He said all the right things. He was very inspiring. He was like dead on, and everything he wanted to do was very data driven. All the things that you're supposed to say. And I actually see why the Chargers hired him. Like, he does and says all the right things, and he's a good leader. But the problem is in the NFL is that if you don't produce, and that's from front office all the way down to coaching staff, training staff, equipment staff, if you're not getting it right, they will look to move on from you. And so if they did move on from Brandon Staley, which they look like they possibly could here shortly, I understand, because that performance goes from top to bottom.
Sean, no, that's completely understandable with Staley. His seat continues to get hotter, it feels like, as the season goes on. You did say something about no one wants to leave California for Kansas City barbecue. I know a guy that would want to leave California for Alabama barbecue. That's Phillip Rivers, your former teammate. I saw you ran into him at one of the games. I just want to get your funniest Phillip Rivers story, because you see the mic'd up moments, you see all the trash talks, and he seems like one of the best trash talkers of all time, but he does it in a way where he really doesn't curse, right? What's your best Phillip Rivers story as far as the trash talk goes?
So when I was at University of Maryland, back when we were in the ACC, and obviously we played NC State. So, by the way, Phillip never beat us his whole entire career.
On the record.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. But, so we watch film, right? We watch film on film. With the film that we watch, we don't get the broadcast copy. We watch the silent, 3-4 different angles. So all you see is Phillip on the film, just his head. You just see him every single play. He's saying something to somebody. And so I just grew a hate for this dude. Like, man, I cannot wait to see him. I'm going to knock this dude out, right? I just grew this hate for Phil because I'm like, he talked every time. You see him smacking guys in the head, smacking guys in the butt after he gets hit. I'm like, this dude really pisses me off, right? It was one of those things where I couldn't stand him. And then his last game of his career, we beat them down at NC State. It was a play at the end of the game. I didn't sack him, but I had a hurry and I hit him in the back of the end zone. I mean, I popped him good, right? I'm laying on him, I'm pushing up and getting off of him. And so as I'm pushing up and I'm walking away, he grabs my ankle.
Uh-oh.
And twists it, right? Because I started it. I'm not gonna lie, I started it. I pushed off of him and I talked some trash to him. And so instead of him backing down, just letting it go, he grabbed my ankle. And I turned around. I was shocked. I said, this dude got to be a lunatic, right? He's trying, he has to be crazy. So I turned around, and there's this very cool picture I think I reposted the other day on Twitter where we're face to face. And he came up and he was ready for smoke. He was ready for a full-on fight. Wow. And in my head, I said, I went from hating this guy to the ultimate respect. And I was like, man, I like this dude, right? I like this dude a lot. And so anyway, after the game, and I get drafted by them. So I'm thinking like, oh, so we gonna go to blows or something, right? At some point in the locker room, I know we had 3 years of just hating each other, And I met him. I was around him. Dude, I tell you couldn't be around a better person, a better player. And this dude was the ultimate competitor that you ever seen. People think because we're seeing now the clips with him being mic'd up, we all love it now, right? Because it's just like Phil. You look to hear from Phil. First of all, no cursing. Him, kind of going at guys and whatever it is. And so people think that happened on the field. Dude, during the week, right? Just say we got the Seahawks, and they will have Walter Jones at tackle. I'm around. I got this during the season, right? So nobody lift weights hard during the season. We're not lifting heavy weights. I only got the 100-pound dumbbells. I'm just getting my reps in, getting a little something in, trying to just stay with it during the season. He goes by all the time. He'll tap me and say, those 100 pounds, they ain't gonna do nothing against Walter Jones, right? So this trash talk and this competitive spirit with him, it never stopped, dude. I'm talking about dominoes, card games. We used to have these freestyle Fridays, and Phil because he used to listen to everything that we did, right? So Phil, if he heard whatever the hottest commercial radio track was, or a song on the radio, Phil could start rapping the lyrics, right? And so you don't supposed to say and do stuff around kids because they pick up everything you do.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
That's Phil. If you
Oh, man.
he's so observant. He's so observant that if you do something around, he's watching every single your movements. Phil can walk like me. He could do my walk like better than anybody else I've seen because he observes, he watches every single thing you do. And I think that for him, that's what made him great, man. Such a competitor, and he will look for ways to pick at you. I'll give you another prime example. Remember the thing with Yannick, right?
Yep.
When Yannick hit him,
Yep.
That's one of the greatest
it was
trash talk
90 yard
videos of all
touchdown.
time.
right? He got a 90-yard touchdown, 90-yard. And so when Yannick came up there and said, hey, don't scream. And by the way, Yannick said, that's my little bro. That's Maryland guy. He's a Turk.
Yep.
And so when he's screaming, and Yannick came back to him and said, hey, don't yell in my ear. And Philip changed his voice. He said, I will yell in your ear. I will. If you hear him. And so if you know Phil, right? If you know Phil, he was doing that to get under your skin because he did that to us in practice all the time. If they would lighten us up on the offense side of the ball, we couldn't stop them. He'll walk right up to you. He'll start changing his voice. You'll be walking away from him. He'll follow you and lower his voice. What do you want? And say he won't stop, right? And so that was him all the time. This was no cameras around. This is 7 days a week.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's
man.
incredible.
Yeah.
Sean, thanks for joining us. Zach Bonder. I think one of these guys gave me crap for it. But when I heard that you were joining the show, the first thing that popped in my head was the Mohawk in Madden. And it was just absolutely iconic. What made you, one, go to the Mohawk, and then you kind of just went away from it? Was there a reason, or just weren't feeling the Mohawk anymore?
Well, it was a couple of things. So I always looked at my, like, you know how, okay, so Leonardo DiCaprio, right? He's not walking around talking like the Great Gatsby all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not, he's not in character for a time. So for me, those 60 minutes, those 40 minutes, those 4 quarters, I get a chance to be lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lawrence Taylor was my favorite player growing up, and not just because his physical ability, but from the standpoint of somebody just literally putting fear in another grown man. And I was like, I love that. That was what drew me, kind of drew me to Lawrence Taylor. And so, he got this nickname I've had since I was 16 years old with Lights Out. And I was, kind of a young guy. I was one of the youngest on the team. I was 20 years old, one of the youngest ever when I got drafted. Mm-hmm. And so this whole Lights Out and the dance and the moniker and stuff. And so one day I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going all in, right? I'm going blue Mohawk. Mm-hmm. I'm going, I'm tatted up. I'm trying to rip people's heads off. And so for 4 quarters, I'm Lights Out. And this is who I am. And I could do anything I want to. I give you just hope. The reason why I got playing football, I was my first time doing a ESPN piece. I was rated, I think, top 20 or 30, whatever it was, in the country player, right? As a sophomore going into my junior year. Never had any media experience, never had a camera in my face and all that stuff, whatever. So a reporter from ESPN, back when they had the tape recorders, right? They tape you, they tape you. And so he came up and he said, he asked me all these questions. And then his final question said, Sean, you play with so much passion. What made you want to play football? And I'm 16 years old, right? Or going on, 16 years old. I looked at him in the eyes and said, sir, I can do anything I want to anybody and not go to jail. That's what I told my reasons for playing football.
That's incredible.
At
16? At 16.
That's an all-time quote, man.
Listen, this reporter stopped it. He cut the thing off. He looked at me it was the most awkward 15 or 20 seconds ever. I'm sure he thought I was going to prison, right? I'm sure of it. That he thought I was going to be a criminal. And so it was almost in a sense, man, that was my outlet to where I grew up, what I was going through as a kid. We grew up very tough. And it's a very tough environment. And it was my outlet for those couple hours to let loose on anybody that came across my path. So that's what I was meaning to say. But I told this reporter, I said, hey, look, man, I can do anything I want to anybody and not go to jail. Big smile on my face, right? So happy about it. I thought I said something great. And the reporters look at me like, this dude is a damn maniac, right? He's going to jail for sure, right?
Oh, no doubt. I think I think that's the exact impression you left, but damn, hey, it works. But you got to have that type of mindset. I know exactly what you're talking about. Just came out a little differently.
It came out different. I trust me, I had no media experience. It came out totally wrong. And I look back on it when I finally started doing more and more interviews, and I look back and I can't believe I said that shit, right? Like, why would I say that?
Yeah,
But it came from the heart.
If
Right,
I was another 16-year-old on the opposing team and I read that before playing, I'd be like, I do not want to play this guy.
No, imagine like
what?
finishing up algebra and going to face Shawne
Yeah,
Merriman.
that's
You know what? Thank God that reporter never ran with that. It put that in there. There ain't no college would have. Maryland wouldn't look at me. No one would have looked at me. You know,
probably would have had you rushing the passer a lot sooner.
yeah, but they would. I would have been doing it in a white jacket. They would have had a white jacket on me while I did it. So, but anyway, it was this whole like for 4 quarters for 60 minutes, I got a chance to be lights out, and that was when the Blue Mohawk came to dance, and my style and play and everything else. So,
and then one thing that I think in the NFL, a debate that has been super interesting to me, and I know we talk about this sometimes, is grass versus turf. Do you think, as someone who unfortunately had lower body injuries during his career, do you see a difference? Do you think there's that big of a difference, or is it just it happens, unfortunately?
For me, not as much, right? Because I got about 5 hard steps before I get to the quarterback. Now, skill positions, DBs, corner, DBs, wide receivers, anybody who has to run a long period of time, stop on the dime, cut, change direction, I don't think it's that safe.
Yeah.
Natural grass would be the way to go for them. Now, for me, 5 steps, I'm back there. The quarterback got to throw the ball 3 seconds or less. I ain't got anything to worry about. Also, a little bit faster too on turf, right? A little bit faster on turf than you are on natural grass. But there is a higher risk of injury. So as my position, I wasn't opposed to playing on turf. But I can definitely see the skill positions having a problem for them because there's a higher risk for injury for them.
Yeah, it's definitely been a talking point throughout the NFL for a while, and seeing guys and at the end of the day, no one wants to see anyone get hurt, especially on the non-contact shit, right? Like that's the part that really sucks, but that is a part of the game right now. And the other part of it too is you switch the grass, you can be more forgiving, but when weather happens, then that creates a whole other different situation. Couple of things, because we're based in Baltimore, so obviously going to ask you a couple things Raven related. Were you a baseball fan growing up, by the way, Sean? You don't have to be. That's okay.
Yeah, Cal Ripken, dude, was my favorite player of all time.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Dude, I still to this. When I was a kid, I met him. When I was in high school, I met him. He had a signing or something like that out in Baltimore. He had a signing, and I got a chance to meet him. Dude, I was so starstruck just looking at him. He was like my favorite baseball player of all time.
Well, then, I'm glad someone's starstruck by him. I don't carry the same feeling. maybe it's because maybe just because it's dad to me, and I got to deal with the other shit of.
A little different
of a love, but I guess Shekel's asking here: did you attend the 21-30 game then? At that point, you were able to go when he broke the streak?
No, I didn't make that one. Actually, my first professional football game was the Ravens in 2000. It was a home game. That was my first professional game that I've ever went to. Ever. Yeah, my freshman year in high school. And so we were poor, man. We didn't have shit. Going to a game, that was out the question. We couldn't pay rent. Yeah. And so my high school coaches had asked me, they said, hey, do you want to see a real linebacker play? And I was like, sure. I was watching football, and and they was like, all right, we're gonna go take you to see Ray Lewis. And they gathered some money together. We went to the game. This is in 2000. This is the year they won the Super Bowl, right? Was it 2000 they won the Super Bowl that year?
Yes. Yep. That's it.
Pretty decent defense.
So they didn't have much money either. So they all put some money together, and we went to the Ravens game. We set up about 5 seats lower than the light bulbs, right? Like if a light bulb went out, I could have reached up there and changed it myself. We were way up there, but I was happy. First time I seen a professional game in person, and they had all these stars that came out, right? Jamie Sharper and Goose, and I think Jamal Lewis is on that team. I mean, all these stars that they had, and then finally at the end, the music cut off. The everything got quiet. It was a big pause, and fans got loud. And at the time, I don't know why they're screaming. I'm like up there. I thought the whole team had came out, right? So they got quiet. They got real loud. They started screaming. It was this big pause, and all I heard is, "It's getting hotter," and it came up fireworks and smoke. So, I remind you, I used to laugh at people when I was a kid, where they used to go to concerts, Michael Jackson concerts. They would scream and laugh, and they'll scream and pass out and sweat. And I was like, dude, it's a damn person, right? He's Michael. He's a person just like you, just like me, just like anyone else. And so I never knew what this feeling was like. And Ray came out in the crowd with this fireworks and the smoke, and he came out dancing, and it was like I was at a concert. And I felt that faint, that lightheadedness, because something came over me where I didn't realize what was going on because I'd never seen anything like that before in my life in person. Never been to a concert, never been to a pro game. And I remember this. I said, after he came out and everything calmed back down, I turned to my coaches and I said, I want to do something to make people feel like how I felt when Ray Lewis came out. So when I got drafted by the Chargers, I was always the last one to come out. That's how the lights out dance and all that stuff, man. So, yeah, man, I was fortunate to kind of be around there. And Cal Ripken's, I don't care what nobody say. He's going to be my favorite player, man. That's who I grew up on.
All right, you know what? I'll let that be then. That's fine. It's fun. I tell people, they've heard this joke how many times, but people tell me all the time, like, man, I love your dad. And I sit there, I'm like, stop traffic. I do too. I love him too for different reasons. I don't care that he played well, right? But it's cool hearing the Ray Lewis part of that. Brad and I, we actually just were talking about just kind of the impact, Ray's had on the community and just the experience in general, right, Brad?
Yeah, and it actually got me wondering. It's perfect that you were talking about Ray because, now there's Roquan Smith that is that dude in Baltimore, and there's been a lot of comparisons of this Baltimore defense to that 2000 defense as well. Not quite as like there's a bunch of bruisers like there was back in 2000, even though there is on this squad, but do you see qualities in Roquan that you saw in Ray Lewis as well? And how do you think today's defense on the Ravens? I mean, first in the league in points per game and second in yards, I believe, as well. So, like, is there some similarities that you're seeing between both of those squads from 2000 to today, even though it's obviously quite a different NFL?
Yeah, no question about it. I think that Roquan Smith is the closest thing that you can get to Ray in this day and time. I really do. And I hate comparisons, man. I remember my big rookie year I had. I went to the Pro Bowl, All-Pro, defensive rookie, and all that stuff. And I remember writing an article in the Union Tribune in San Diego comparing me to Junior Seau. And I'm sitting there. Mind you, I think I'm 21 years old at the time or something like that. And I'm sitting there in front of my locker reading this piece that they wrote in Union Tribune. I was like, God, I hate comparisons. For one, Junior Seau in San Diego, dude, there was nobody bigger that ever came through San Diego and Southern California in general in sports, in my opinion, right? And so I hate comparing anybody to Ray Lewis because for somebody that did it as high as he did on that level for as long as he did, it's next to impossible in this day and age for guys to do that, and especially with one team. We don't see it like that too often. With Smith and Queen and inside, I think they're the best 1-2 tandem in football generally. And I love Fred. Fred Warner is one of my favorite players. I love watching Fred. A couple other guys, I can kind of throw out there that fit in that mix. But when you're talking about the tenacity and the physicalness of how they play the game, he's the closest thing to Ray. And so when they brought in Chuck Smith too, also, right? So Chuck Smith was my pass rush coach in the offseason. I used to go see Chuck Smith in Atlanta, and I used to stay for a week plus at a time, and I worked with him for hours, sometimes twice a day when I go see him. So when I saw them bringing him on the staff, I said, you know what? They're about to look a whole lot different. Because Chuck when it comes to teaching, there's nobody better that I've worked with. And I've probably worked with 10 or 15 different pass rushing coaches in the country, track coaches, starting coaches. When I tell you the technicality of what Chuck does, it's no surprise that Jadeveon Clowney has bounced back. He went missing for 3 or 4 years in the NFL.
He did.
You see flashes of him making big plays here and there when he was in Cleveland. His tail ended up with the Texans. We say flash. We haven't seen him play like this in the last 4 years. And so I'm not surprised. Look what they're doing. Look what they're building out there. Look at their attitudes. And more importantly, forget the tackles that he made. Look how they're making tackles. They are finishing, punishing guys. They're the most physical team, in my opinion, in the NFL, in their style of play. So yeah, man, I love watching those guys and just what they're building in general.
That we feel the same way, but it's always nice when you have someone that went through it and can see it and can show it. Because, I mean, man, it's been really fun to watch this group in Baltimore, because this style of play, the NFL's changed, and this style of play, that's the part with Roquan. It's been fun to see the physicality, the attention to detail, and they're flying around the field, which is incredible. And they're bringing back, in my opinion, value back to a position that wants to be kind of devalued more and more over the last few years. Another thing, because we'll ask you one more question, then I want to hear about what you are up to right now, because I know you're up to a few things. But the last one to ask you, it's the biggest number 8 nowadays. Sorry, Calvin Edwin Ripken Jr., but it's Lamar Jackson. It's and I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, a few years ago, you said he was Vic 2.0, right? Does that sound about right? Mm-hmm. And you said he was exceptional from the pocket. Has anything changed since then, or has Lamar exceeded any expectations for you as we move forward now into his fifth season, sixth season in the NFL? Sixth.
Crazy.
I think he's gotten a hell of a lot more accurate. And there's nothing forced. He's always had a big arm. He's always had a big arm. He always can throw the ball down the field. What he's doing now is pinpointing passes when he's rolling out the pocket and getting outside and between those tackles. He'll run when necessary. See, in the past, he would just take off, don't get me wrong, unless it's a design RPO run action, he's taking off run or whatever. He's a way better decision maker than he is right now. Yeah. And I don't know if that just came with maturity. Maybe that's something he focused on because he got so much, hey, I'm a running quarterback. And I don't know what it was, but something happened with him. He's just a much better decision maker. He's much more of a pinpoint accurate passer, especially when he's on a run now and creating stuff with his legs. He used to look to just run when he tucked the ball. He's actually keeping his eyes down the field. So I don't know what happened over this last year or so, but he's changed his game tremendously. That's why they're having a lot of success. And don't get me wrong, that defense is outstanding. But the way he's placing the ball, and when he threw the ball down the field to Odell Beckham, and I know that Odell made a hell of a catch, readjusting to the ball, getting his eyes back up and finding the ball and finding it. But Lamar Jackson put that ball where nobody else can catch it but him. A couple of years ago, that wouldn't have happened. That just wouldn't have happened. That would have been a pick or incomplete pass. He put that ball where only Odell can catch the football. Great route, found the ball, but only Odell can catch it. That's where I see his game elevating at this point in his career. He's gotten a lot more accurate, and his decision-making skills are way better.
So then, quick, do you believe then, last thing then, it sounds like you believe then the Lamar Jackson that's playing right now, this team can win the AFC?
If he stays healthy, yeah.
If he stays healthy, yeah. It's the biggest thing is staying healthy, right? I feel like everyone, unfortunately, has gotten hurt this year. And that's hence someone got hurt. Joe Flacco came back. That's how it works. But talk to us about with your lights out extreme fighting, because I know that's something you've been dialed into, and I want you to explain more about that.
Yeah, so I actually started to train a bit myself, man, back when I was playing. So Jake Laser at Fox Sports, and I was training in his gym. I grew up in PG County, Maryland, man. So I had uncles were professional boxers, family around. I used to remember champion boxers used to come in our neighborhoods. You'd be around, in Palmer Park area. You had Sugar Ray's Leonard gym there, Round One in Capitol Heights, bunch of gyms in DC. So I was hanging around the boxing gyms anyway because my family were professional boxers. So I was just kind of around it. Yeah. So I picked it up gradually anyway. But MMA just started coming on the scene after I got drafted by the Chargers on the West Coast. Most of the MMA fighters trained in between Vegas and California. I would say 70% of MMA fighters were training in California and Vegas at that point. It wasn't the gyms that are in Texas and Florida and Midwest like they are now. It's more of a global sport. Back then, it was like 70% of the fighters, you were in California. So I started training with Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. I was around all these guys. They would come to the games, and I would give them tickets to the game. And I'm like, hey, look, I'll hook you up with the tickets, but I'm training with y'all during the off season. So let's lock that in. And I found it to help me a lot in football right? My hand died. I wasn't that great with my hands starting out. I was big, fast, strong, and explosive. Wasn't that great with my hands. I ended up getting a lot better with my hands. Started training every single off season. And I ended up launching Lights Out in 2019. I worked with Bellator for about a year and a half as an ambassador. I would, work on be with them with venue deals, matchmaking, production. So I got about a year and a half or two with Bellator before I actually launched my own organization. We're at Fubo TV, Fubo Sports now. We just finished our Lights Out Extreme Fighting 12 that we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We just jumped 90% viewership on Fubo. Two fights before that, we jumped 70%. And so what's cool about it is that we're seeing these jumps because I get the opportunity to do this, right? We're talking football, and obviously, whatever. I can always talk lights out until I'm blue in the face because of what we're doing. I think there's a big intersection, a big, bridge gap in between fan bases as well. I think there's something there too as well. We got a big fight coming up January 6th in Long Beach, California. We'll be live on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports at 6 p.m. Pacific.
January 6th, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
We do it. So 9 p.m. on the East Coast.
Yep.
That's electric. So that's the next fight. Now all be on Fubo.
Yeah, they'll all be live on Fubo, and then a week later we air on various platforms. Bali's being one of them. It's a big one for us. Samsung Vizio, Amazon Freevee. We're on a bunch of different platforms, but we'll be live on Fubo TV January 6th.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to have to dive into that. I will say this. I don't think I could ever pull off being a fighter.
No.
I had to ask you, what? Yeah, you don't think I could be a fighter?
No,
You don't have the body type.
chance.
You'd get
There's
snapped
no
in half by
chance.
someone, man.
No
No
chance.
shot. Yeah. Sorry.
10,000 subs, me and Ryan.
Okay. Well, that's a no-brainer, Sean. I get picked on all the time. They think because I just retired from playing baseball, and I'm more lanky and I'm skinnier, but they don't think I can kick their ass. They should know better.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm actively working. No, let me do my pitch real quick. All right?
Yeah,
So-
do your pitch. Do your pitch.
So I am, successfully transitioning a lot of football players, right, that's coming over. And we're getting the guys that don't have the opportunity. They played 3-4 years in the league, maybe played college ball at Alabama, Florida State. They tried it, maybe bounced around a couple years in the league. They're saying, you know what, the hell with this. I'm going to go whoop some ass, right? So we're actively transitioning those guys. But what I'm seeing now, there's a couple basketball players, there's a couple baseball players that are now getting more and more to the sport. And one thing about us, if you're an athlete in another sport, especially a pro athlete, you're not walking into the cage with 2 left feet, right? Like you're athlete, and our learning curve is a lot faster. We're disciplined. Athletes, especially pro athletes, are the most disciplined people on the planet Earth, right? From the time we're 10, 11, 12 years old, we're told to be in a meeting, be at film study, be at work, study hall, wherever we're on a time basis, and we know how to work. We know how to, we're not afraid to get coached, right? I remember when I first started doing MMA, I was getting my ass kicked in there, getting taken to the ground by 180-pound wrestlers, right? Couldn't get up. I was frustrated as hell. And I just man, I'm coming back in. I'm whooping somebody's ass tomorrow. I got my ass kicked. Somebody's getting their ass kicked tomorrow. And I come in and get my ass kicked again. All right, you know what? Tomorrow's the day, right? And so what happened was I didn't hang my head. I almost looked at it as a challenge to get better. So we're actively transitioning a lot of these former athletes from other sports that still want to compete, right? Especially football players.
Yeah.
Baseball, big contracts, guaranteed contracts. Those guys may or may not. They're like, we're fine. We don't need to go do anything else. But with football players, like when you're done, you're done. When they come after that playbook, you are done, right? And you can go have the greatest agent in the world. If a team decide to move on from you, that's it. Mm-hmm. But it's an honor, privilege to get a chance to play on that level. But you want to move on and compete to something else. So don't be shocked. I can't think of his name off the top of my head as a pitcher that does a lot of boxing and MMA, and I've seen him go. He can actually fight. That there's going to be some guy that's saying, you know what, I'm tired of AAA, right? I'm tired of getting tossed back down. I'm tired of no calls. I'm going to go whip some ass. Those are the people that I want. I want the guys that are tired, pissed off, and want to whip some ass. So I'll get those guys.
Sean, you got 4 of them here. So next time you're in the area, you might have to train all of us MMA wise. Get us in the cage. Yeah.
For content reasons, get a little.
That's ain't gonna be good for you.
I mean,
that right there, don't get your ass whooped. I'm not.
There we go.
That probably
this is why I need the
wrong,
training.
but I get where you're going with it. I understand the mind process now, but you definitely gonna get your ass whipped that way.
I'm so glad you said that. Someone needs
Yeah,
to.
thank you
Someone
for
needs
putting him
to,
in this
yeah.
damn place, Sean.
No,
This
no,
is why I need the training.
I like to be helpful, man. I like to be helpful.
This is why I need the training.
Yep.
This is why we're transitioning.
Exactly.
Well,
We're coming
great.
to you, Sean.
Yeah, well, Sean, the next time you can give us a little tutorial on it, but with Lights Out Extreme, January 6th, you're looking for guys. If you're done with shit and you want to be competitive, we'll send them your way too. I don't think it'll be us, but we can use the training. I think that's it. I think we've kept you long enough. If you're ever in Maryland, Baltimore, would love to return the favor for you. I know you got a lot of dealings back here, but maybe meet up down at the University of Maryland.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right, Sean. Well, hey,
Thank you, Sean.
you enjoy the rest of the night, and we'll talk
Thank
later.
you, Sean.
You got it, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
I'm gonna have to work on the duck and
I'm
dive.
so glad he
That
called
was
your ass
so
out.
fun.
Good.
That was hilarious.
That was
You just
so
bobbing and weaving, like throwing these lanky punches right there. You'd probably get popped 1,000 times before you hit someone.
without a doubt.
I'm
That
not
was-
saying I wouldn't, but you.
Oh yeah, well that was the funny part. I was doing it and in my head. I was like, I wonder if I'm on screen, and then I looked down and he was like, "You gonna get your."
I'm
ass
so
whooped." Like,
glad he just caught you doing it. Yeah,
It was so great. Great.
Cameraman did me dirty on that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
that was good job, Rip. Or Brad, whoever.
Wow. Hey, that was great, and it went longer obviously than we anticipated. But I wanted
That was
Sean to
great
keep going.
conversation.
But you know
That
what I
was
love
great.
too about it? I love hearing the passion that he talks about after sports. You know, after your one career ends, and I do think that is a void for athletes that they're missing. I wish I could kick someone's ass. I'll be honest; it's probably not in my strong suit. And don't say it's in either of your guys' strong suits.
I
We
just
just
want to
figured it
know
out.
who's whooping his ass all those times because
The 180 fighters. Yeah, I've been
like,
wondering the
those are
same thing.
Yeah, because I don't like if Shawne Merriman walked in here, like you would not look at a 180-pound person and be like, oh, he can whoop his ass. But just how trained they are, like those are the most dangerous fighters.
That's like the whole. I don't know if you see like Bradley Martin talk at
Mhm.
all, and he's just
Yeah.
like, I'm 260. He's like, I would kill this guy who's
like,
like
no.
160 over here, and I think he had a professional boxer on. I forget who it was, but they said, dude, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't even
Like
come
you
close.
would get hit 20 times before you got to me.
Yeah, before you even realize what's happening.
That's how technical. That's how hard these guys train. It's awesome. And when they get into the cage, they're there to die. They're like, all right, like this could be it.
I'll tell you what, though, I'm going to be locked in on the event on January 6th. Like
I'm definitely gonna watch.
I'm
it.
hooked on that. I am
Yep.
I am very, very interested.
We gotta
to see
tune
it.
in.
We gotta have Sean back on because I want to talk to him about his WWE career too.
Oh, we'll have to
Yeah,
we'll have to
gonna
schedule
have
it
to.
back in. So we
I
went.
also won't say I don't think Brad would win out of the four of us. There's no chance.
I mean, he's the only father out of the four.
He
of us.
does.
He's
he
got
has
the
dad
strength.
strength.
He has dad
Dad strength is
Oh.
different, man.
Damn, that
has nothing to do with it. I don't know if I don't know what Malachi's seeing, but I would.
Well, he's seen you fall walk into the game. So
That's what I'm
how
saying.
he's-
Like I ate shit tripping over a scooter in the city. So that's not
that was I guess Malachi was impressed. He was impressed by how quickly he got up.
Yeah,
It was
very.
a quick recovery. He knows Brad can take a hit and get up.
He was very
That's right.
impressed.
You see Joe, he wants us in the cage at 3,000 subscribers. I don't know if he means you versus me or just like us both in the cage.
Well,
but-
at first he said with Rocco with 3,000 subscribers. So at first I thought you were taking on our first
That's like,
3,000
what
subscribers.
is it, like 1 versus 3,000 over
Yeah.
here? Like,
That'd be incredible.
All our subscribers versus Rocco. in
Joe
a
just wants to see
cage.
me suffer.
I mean, who doesn't? By the way, just kidding. You're a good kid. But if you are new to this, help us get to that 3,000 subs as we're getting closer. We're approaching. If you hit that subscribe and like button, we would really appreciate it. And we're going to have more guests like Sean on. And I love the fact, if you missed it, we're going to have some clips up. But him talking about Ray Lewis and talking about Lamar Jackson and talking about his experiences with the Chargers. What a book of knowledge.
Dude,
you know,
the way he was talking about Chuck Smith,
yes.
That was
the
great,
pass
yeah.
rush coach for the Ravens. I've heard a lot of players just like light up and talk about him, but the way that he was so passionate immediately was like, we have to talk about Chuck Smith, like what he's done with Jadavion and guys
Dude,
like that. That was
The respect
beautiful.
factor, the guy's called Dr. Rush for a reason.
Mhm.
He has that reputation, and you could see it. Justin Matabike was working with Chuck Smith. He's leading the team in sacks, a defensive lineman, not an outside linebacker.
He's top 10
or-
in the league
yeah.
in sacks too. No.
He's balling. I mean, Madubuike is balling, and I love that. That's the insight that we had the hard pressing questions about asking about Mohawks, and then we ask about more specific stuff. And I think this is a good topic to go into then, guys, because
Hey,
it went longer. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to shout out Shekel. We asked this question, but I just wanted to say thanks for the donate, my man.
Yeah,
Shekel,
Shekel,
a round of applause here, around the group. And
I gotta
Zach.
stop doing above the head.
Yeah, what the hell are we doing?
I keep on clapping the mic, so I have to go above here, so I don't.
And that's why you're
a safety signal.
Yeah, I keep giving. Well, last week I was doing this for the Dolphins, but this isn't really a dolphin.
What the hell are we doing?
Oh, it's like the skull.
Okay.
No,
Skull.
no, this is
Yeah, well, no, obviously.
All right,
Okay,
that was a
we have
loud.
that.
All right, easy. Heel cinnamon.
Yeah, where's the cat herder?
Yeah, we're dead. Brad. All right.
the
So
cats.
since this went over
Moving on.
by the way, Shekel, thank you for asking. Yeah, it was unfortunate. The one thing I didn't like that he said the cow was his favorite player. That's unfortunate. That's a check mark against.
I think you should leave.
You know what? I should have cut it off right there, Sean. It's been a pleasure.
Over everything.
Have a good night, bro.
Have a good night. No, in all seriousness, it is cool hearing those sides of it. You know, I really do appreciate it, and I know the community has. But since we kind of gone overboard with it, I think we just executive decision. We're going to just jump right into Ravens right now.
Yeah,
because I think we just talked about some great Ravens moments. I think people want to talk about the Ravens in general here. It's getting close to the Monday night, the doubleheader, by the way.
Can we?
What?
One brilliant idea for Monday Night Football, 2 games. I think it should be a staple. Who decided they were starting at the exact same time? What?
Thank you.
That's the same question.
That's not a double header.
That's just 2
That's
games.
stupid.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me talk to corporate.
Like do a 7:30, like 9 o'clock.
Stagger it a little bit.
Yeah, like do something so like one game starts at halftime, like something.
Love it.
They did that.
They should put
They
you
did
in
that to
charge.
start the season. They
Which
did
makes
do
sense.
that.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly. I could watch a lot of football.
You know, you got any spicy bets for tonight while the game kicks off or no?
Tyreek, I want to bet Tyreek Hill, but like his yardage is at 111 already.
I want to take the over because of the fantasy mishap or the situation that I'm in right now, because I know he's going to go for like 170 yards and like 2 touchdowns tonight. It's bad.
I just hope the Titans better just hold him. Let's get into the fun stuff.
Let's get into the fun stuff, shall we? And the fun stuff is this Ravens game yesterday. And guys, holy shirts and pants. And especially with the weather game, you thought maybe it was going to be low scoring. Maybe, something really strange would happen. But what actually happened was an incredibly entertaining football game, capped off with an unbelievable play by Tylan Wallace. And you guys have seen it all over. We're going to show it again because it wasn't just Ravens fans jumping up and down over this. Look at the Ravens bench. Look at Patrick Queen here. Everybody going nuts. And quite frankly, it was nuts.
Patrick Queen's outrunning Lamar Jackson, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was what I noticed that too. Also, I do want to point out these videos are not synced up to the exact same time because at first I thought it was, and I was like, our entire team is on the field and he has not scored yet. But then I realized that I was like, okay, guys, let's not chance this being a Kansas City thing and we get a flag thrown.
Look like the Cal Stanford game.
Yeah, like when I saw it, I was like, our entire team is running on the field and it still has them at the 30-yard line. So they are not synced up. I did notice that.
Well, synced up, not synced up. Ravens won that game. And man, did they need it. And especially everything happened in this game, by the way.
Everything.
It was back and forth. Lamar making great plays. Matt Stafford. Lamar then taking the team down the field on that 3rd and 17, scoring on a great play. Zay Flowers, and we'll talk a little bit about what Nelson Aguilar was involved with that. And the Ravens get a win, and they're the first team in the AFC to get to 10 wins. And that's the biggest part. The Dolphins can join them soon here. We're recording this before the Monday night game. But then Pat McAfee Brad, on his show, started talking about these Baltimore Ravens. And I think it's very interesting. So we want to show you it, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Baltimore, we haven't talked about a lot. Nobody has.
Why not?
No.
Why haven't we had?
For how good they're playing, how good Lamar is, why haven't we talked about him more?
I mean, we certainly do, but I'm talking about the national conversation. When we say we're just talking about sports talk as a whole.
It hasn't been super flashy. Like,
even though they have Lamar.
They do
Great
everything.
defense.
They do everything good. I don't know if they've done anything like super great, but like
they had 2 of those yesterday.
They've just been the Ravens. They've just been incredibly solid, like they are all the time. And I think right now in the AFC, if you're just incredibly solid, you're going to win football games because there's a lot of up and down going on. But yeah, I mean, Odell had a sweet game yesterday.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah. They can go.
There's a couple catches where he's looking one way and turns the other way. Might have been wind, by the way.
Yeah.
And it could have been any of that stuff. Not a bad little. Okay. All right. Odell doing his thing. That is a classic Odell Beckham. Dolphins. I appreciate it. But if they lose Baltimore now, then we're sitting in the driver's seat to go get home field advantage. Is this Baltimore team built to go on a real Lombardi run right now?
Yeah, Lamar's doing the biggest question about Lamar for a lot of people watching the game will be, can he throw the ball? Can he throw the ball from the pocket? The situation where it's 2 minutes, 1:50 in the clock. Do you have confidence in him to drive? Does he have the weapons to throw it to drive it down the field? And I think he's answered that question this season. Zay Flowers just keeps getting better. Odell, I feel like maybe he's getting healthier, maybe just getting more acclimated with the offense, but he's getting better every week.
There it is. I mean, I think they're right. People haven't talked about Baltimore as much recently, fellas. And maybe it's just because of headlines around the Chiefs. And then the Ravens were on bye. They had that really tight, sweated out, like Joe's saying, did it require a 12:30 a.m. shower, sweating it out type of feel?
Oh, it was.
It kind of was. It was probably would have been even later if the Ravens played a night game there. But the reality is the Ravens won. And actually, the Rams, to me, they're sneaky kind of good right now.
Real sneaky.
I mean, Matt Stafford is healthy. And when Matt Stafford's healthy, things happen. When they have Puka and Cooper and Kyron Williams, and by the way, they still have the best defensive player on the planet. Aaron Donald's not getting all the recognition because he doesn't maybe put up all the stats, but he still gets double or triple teamed.
I was going to say, it's hard to do when you get triple teamed every other play. I mean, that guy's an absolute monster.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's my point, is that they have really good pieces. And with that game, Lamar makes the comeback. And then Matt Stafford drives him right down the field to tie the game. I mean, it was so back and forth. But guys, here the Ravens now, with the losses yesterday, are right where they need to be. And that is completely in control of their own destiny to be the number 1 seed. You know, one other thing I'll let you guys talk about that I really loved of yesterday's game, the downfield shots, being aggressive.
Yeah.
And man, did they, because those explosive plays to Likely, to Odell, even Zay's touchdown, those ended up being huge difference makers. And in the past of us talking about this wasn't that we didn't think the Ravens could throw the ball down the field. It was, this is what can happen when Lamar has enough time and the players are allowed to take more opportunities deep. I mean,
and he had a ton of time because when we were, you were just talking about the Rams obviously having, good defensive players, but Lamar had a ton of time to throw. I would say that the defensive line for the Rams is probably their weakest spot because even with Lamar having so much time to throw the ball, it seemed as if their secondary had everything on lockdown. But to your point, if the offensive line for the Ravens can hold up and give Lamar that kind of time down the stretch and even into the playoffs, I mean, it's going to be a super dangerous team for sure. And if they do get that number 1 seed, of course, we'll have home field advantage throughout. And this was another thing that the Pat McAfee show was also talking about, was like home field advantage and actually talking from experience about what that was like. So take a listen here as well.
Like Baltimore,
sure,
that's a real home field advantage.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the weather.
I watched Stavros. I watched this Netflix special the other night when I got home and I couldn't sleep. I love that he's 5'7". I didn't know that.
He's a weapon.
I learned that in that whole thing. But he does obviously his reaction videos afterwards. And he was talking about like who he is in those videos. Like the Baltimore white trash.
Yeah, his family.
And I think if you heard anybody talk, I guess me, about that Baltimore stadium, and we were the Colts, and you got to remember the history of the Colts in Baltimore. Irsay's dad picked up the team, put them in a Mayflower truck, and shipped them out of town overnight, a day after saying, we're stopping. I got to go to dinner, guys. And then we're getting out of here, and he leaves. So there's still generations of hate towards the Colts. But every time we played there, I had nothing but respect for the things that they were saying. Like, there's some fan bases that are willing to say stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And with the way Monken's running that team,
Oh,
What happened?
I don't know, but I think we got the gist of it.
Yeah.
I think we got the gist of it here is that
basically, so Darius Bucker was also talking about like the overall atmosphere and like the when he was playing and Ray Lewis was there and talking about like just like that overall just when Ray would grab the grass and stuff like that, just like the feelings you got, like wasn't really like you haven't seen that anywhere else in the NFL. And to be fair for me, like I've never been to any other NFL stadium, so I don't really know. Like, do we really have it that good at home field? Does anybody else? I mean, I know that Rocco obviously has too. So, like, speak from experience if you guys have been anywhere other than M&T.
Who would like to start off, Rock?
NFL wise, I've been to Heinz Field. I'll never call it a Kreischer Stadium.
Is it Acrisure?
Simply do Acrisure, Kreischer. I don't, dude.
Kreischer.
I don't know what it is.
Kreischer.
That's exactly why I will call it Heinz. And it
Please
should be
please
called
refer
Heinz.
to it as its correct
Yeah.
name.
Please refer to it as Heinz. Been to the link where the Eagles play. MetLife, but I think the M&T Bank's right up there. I mean, what Heinz, when Renegade comes on and everyone's waving the terrible towels, it's a different atmosphere.
Mhm.
But you look at the Ravens, when Real Fan Dan does the RAVENS, everyone's going nuts. Or you're throwing on Enter Sandman and you're going nuts to that. It's a different kind of atmosphere. That's why Patrick Mahomes said what he did about the Ravens playing their night games. Everything along those lines, because M&T Bank Stadium is a tough environment for the away team to come into and win. And the Ravens have gift wrapped some games in the past, even this season, but they make it tough on teams, the crowd, the atmosphere. It's not somewhere you want to come in and play and try to win a game because it is so tough.
I mean,
to win it.
Thursday Night Football, Cincinnati burned 2 timeouts pre-snap because in the first, I think it was 8 minutes, because they couldn't hear. They were literally looking at each other, trying to make audibles. They couldn't hear each other, couldn't communicate, would have to go to silent counts. Like you say, Patrick Mahomes, I believe he said Baltimore's one of 2 or 3 places, only 2 or 3 that he's ever had to go to a silent count on. And then going back to the Lamar Jackson deep ball. I love the shots that we took yesterday, but I want to give him a little more credit on the touchdown throw to Odell, because a lot of people are saying Odell saved him on that. And just from first glance by watching it, you would think so too, because of how hard Odell had to adjust by
I know
it.
exactly what you're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
The floor is yours.
In his press conference, Odell brings up Odell ran the wrong route.
Yep.
And the reason he had to adjust so hard is because Lamar threw it where Odell was supposed to be, knowing the play. And Odell, it's why you go get him, because even when he runs the wrong route, if he can get a hand on it, I mean, that play by the sideline on 2nd and 10, if it's near Odell, Odell's going to come down.
He's really coming into his own.
Oh,
really
baby.
It's
Oh,
great to see
baby.
for the Ravens.
That's the X factor in the playoffs. That's the X factor.
Well, how about this? How about this double moves? I mean, still now, I don't think anyone
Leaving guys confused.
Torched.
I mean, geez. Yesterday he hit that one and it was just, player, get that man a map.
That was on the touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Left him in
both
the
those
dust.
guys split the defenders, and he just, I mean, they look silly.
That's the dynamic, though, of seeing from Odell Beckham. And this is part of the Ravens offense, how it was this past game. This is the element that they're going to have when they get to the playoffs. Yes, they can run the football. I think we've established that.
With Keaton Mitchell.
Well, yes. And we did talk about Justice Hill was in on the majority of the snaps, I believe, of the 3 running backs, right?
42%. He was in for, it went 30 plays Justice Hill, 24 for Keaton, and 20, I believe, for Gus, or 22 for Gus.
So what we're finding out, though, still is they have a lot of trust in Justice Hill, especially in the passing situations, which, it's still a good problem to have. I know people are saying feed Keaton Mitchell like the one guy over here. And also, you got Gus the Bus, but Justice Hill has still created a nice role for the team. But the bigger part is the Ravens being able to throw in when they have to throw and come back. And that's what people knock them for. We've seen it as fans that they're able to do this. That's what's frustrating. But what's more validating is to see them go out and do it and hopefully go, hey, no, the Ravens can actually do this. And how about Zay Flowers too? I know he came up big on the last drive and maybe the numbers are more for that last drive, but great route. And I know Nelson Aguilar cleared the space for him. And I think it was Ryan Mink with the Ravens was even saying that, or Lamar after the press conference saying that Nelson Aguilar helped explain that on his route on that play was going to open it up for Zay Flowers. Lamar makes a great throw. Zay makes a great route, great catch. And then they go for 2 and they execute. And that's what you need. It wasn't pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. Now the Ravens, if you look at it, they can afford to drop a game to a team like the San Francisco 49ers. Not that you want to lose a game like that.
Not on Christmas, but
no, because you don't want Christmas to be ruined, right, Zach?
It might be. No, I'm just kidding.
It's gonna be.
It would be if they lose. It would be for you.
Yeah,
it would be
I've
ruined
already.
for you. That's what I'm saying.
I've honestly already kind of accepted, especially where the Ravens are. I'm okay with it.
It's. I mean, but don't throw the towel in now.
No.
Like,
no.
I'm
But I'm saying,
all right.
no. What I'm saying is
I'm like, come on, I gotta go in there and play and win.
Oh no. Well, if I've mentally prepared, like these are the two of the best teams. Like it's not. Stressful.
Here's the thing about the Ravens, though, that the fan base might have been pissed off about how they won the game, everything that happened. It was closer than they may have thought it was going to be. But good teams are going to find ways to win, especially in December. John Harbaugh said time after time after time, December wins. It's huge for the Ravens. No matter the team's record, it could be a 6-6 team. It could be a team that's 9-3. It could be a team that's, undefeated, which there's none left in the NFL right now. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to make a point. Good teams will find ways to win. And with the Ravens, it seems like there's a different guy, a different player stepping up every week. Tylan Wallace, I want to give him his flowers right now because this guy was sitting in his car in August outside of the Ravens practice facility, the Castle in Owings Mills, waiting for that 4 p.m. deadline to see if he made the team or not. And then when he didn't hear anything, he drove his car home. He's like, all right, I guess I made the team. Good news for that kind of situation. It's like no news is good news. You don't want to get that call from Harbaugh or DeCosta like, hey, we didn't, we're going to keep you on the practice squad or we're going to go a different direction. Tylan Wallace didn't get that call because he made the team. Last week, he buys his mom a car. This week, he has the play of his NFL career. A punt return for a touchdown in overtime.
Football career. I mean, like if you want,
this is a guy. It couldn't have happened to a better person. You saw the celebration in the locker room afterwards. Good for Tylan Wallace. He's a player that deserves it. He's a player that has worked his tail off to get into this position. And next man up, when Devin Duvernay went down with a back injury, Tylan Wallace stepped up in the biggest way, and that's what the Ravens need guys to do. And it's been kind of a pattern this season for the team.
No, I think. I was just.
Sorry.
Brad, take it away.
Listen, I can't. I can't be perfect every time. Sometimes I make mistakes. Look, I was just thinking of the practice squad and that Joe Flacco was on the practice squad and now has been called up and also had an incredible.
Well, now he's back on the practice squad.
Locker room speech, yes, but it's all because of technicality. Joe's going to think
it's funny
with the Browns, but listen, January we talked about this. We talked about this as soon as we got rumors about the Browns getting signed or the Browns signing Joe Flacco, and I immediately went January Joe because of where the Browns were with their record, and they got a good run game. The defense, obviously, we know what they are. And by the way, there's a guy by the name of David Njoku who knows how to catch balls and run people over. We saw that. So this could be a dangerous team. And I just love this locker room speech by Joe Flacco. Take a listen.
The coach is right, man. It was not pretty today, and I was not my best. But these are what makes teams. These tough games. You guys earn the right all year to play December football. And that's what we're doing right now. And that's what it looks like sometimes. And then January and February, this is what it's going to be. And to have the mental toughness to come through in those types of games, That's what winter's made of. So, hey, bring these games on. It's just going to make us better in the long run. I appreciate you guys having me, man. I feel like a 10-year-old kid out there.
All right, that right there, that hug is also from former Ravens Zadarius Smith. This locker room is looking awfully close, and we've talked about this, about how the relationships are in their locker room and how that translates to the field. And man, it sucks to say as a Ravens fan, it sucks to say if you're in the AFC North, but the Browns look like they could be for real if Joe keeps playing at this level.
It's scary.
It was a big win for them. It was a big win for them, even though they were playing with a very banged up Trevor. I'm still shocked Trevor Lawrence played.
I am too.
But Trevor Lawrence still made some great throws. He was still not that mobile given everything that's happening, and he still was making that a game. But the bigger part here is Joe. You're right. Joe Flacco.
3 touchdowns, 311 yards, 1 pick. I mean,
and Joe Flacco now has he has 5 touchdowns on the year. Kenny Pickett in 12 starts this season, I believe, has 6 total touchdowns passing.
Yes.
That's tough. But Joe, man, the Browns here, and give Kevin Stefanski credit. I mean, the dude has had to deal with multiple quarterback situations over his tenure with Cleveland. There had all the drama going in with Deshaun Watson, and then you get Deshaun Watson, and then he's not healthy, or then he gets hurt, and then you're on your second string, your third string, and now you have the savior Joe Flacco leading the team. This Browns team, they forced a lot of turnovers in that game too. But the biggest gift is that Joe's still helping out the Ravens. Joe got them a victory against the Jags. So now the Ravens have a 2-game lead over the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Kansas City Chiefs. The only team that they don't have that lead over is the Miami Dolphins.
Good thing we play them.
Did you guys see the Browns tweet? It's like all Flacco does is win in this stadium.
That's a whole. Gotta give him credit. That's a Hall of Fame tweet because it's it's an incredible self-awareness burn.
It's great.
It proves,
and your fan base can laugh at it.
Mm-hmm.
This fan base can laugh at it as well.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's like it's the elephant in the room that everyone wants to talk about, and you're putting it front and center. So
yeah,
shout out to their social media team.
Yeah, are we kind of starting to like the Browns for that? Not like that we like them, but
dude, I'm having this weird internal debate these past
Same.
few weeks because it really is one of those things where I don't want the Browns to win, but every time Joe Flacco does something good, it makes my heart feel so good, and it's just it takes that nostalgia back, him hitting a wide open tight end for a touchdown, stuff like that. Hell, even the old fashioned Joe Flacco deep ball interceptions on 3rd and 15. I see it happen and I feel like a kid again. I'm like, man, that's my quarterback.
Nobody does the arm punt better.
Oh my God. No. 3rd and 15, chuck it 70 yards down the field. Hope they catch it.
Well, how about then there's always one. There was a bad route, but Joe threw it directly to the opposing player. Granted, it was a guy was trying to slant, didn't get there. Hit him right in the chest. The opposing defender right in the chest. But that's what you love with Joe. But man, when that spiral, Joe's deep ball or spiral, I just get mesmerized with it. I really do.
Rip. Let me bring up a stat from the Browns PR. He became the first Brown to throw 3 touchdown passes of at least 30 yards in the same game since Brian, I want to say it's Sipe, it might be Sipe, on December 21st, 1980.
Damn.
Excuse me?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, 1980?
1980. First Brown to throw 3 touchdown passes of at least 30 yards in the same game. I'm not going to try to pronounce Brian's last name again.
That was really good.
21st, 1980. I don't want to piss off Browns fans if I mispronounce Brian's last name.
That's all right. You piss off everyone.
Yeah,
so it's all good.
I'm terrible with names.
You're good. Again, like we said, you are a good kid.
And on top of that, the Kenny Pickett stat. Did you see that?
Yeah,
what does Flacco have? 5 touchdown passes on the year right now. Kenny Pickett has.
You're bringing up the fact that your headphones don't work.
Yes, I am. Do we want to address that?
Yeah, we're going to now address
Brad probably said that. Brad, my headphones died, so I can't hear a single thing that you're saying right now. That's on me. So if you said that,
actually, I said
apologize
that.
I was going to say Ryan said it.
Still can't hear you, buddy, but I'm just going to smile with you. What did he say?
Ryan said it.
Oh, Ryan said it. Well,
so that's not
I have him mentally on mute. Brad, I actually have on mute because I can't hear a single thing he's saying. Ryan, You're just muted because
Actually,
you annoy the hell out of me.
I think he said it,
but it is
while-
your show, so I can't really
I think Ryan
Hey,
said
did you
it
know his
while you
name
were
after-
communicating that you couldn't hear.
That might be
to
it.
me.
Yeah. It's the ADD moment again. Clip that.
Clip
that. And yes, you are right, Brad. This is the show. It's named after me. Hi, I'm Ryan. And this is Ryan's friend, Rocco.
That is my name on the stream.
Hey, won't it be really cool one day for all of our listeners and viewers out there if everyone in studio doesn't wear hats one time, even though it is a sick hat? Shout out the Maryland. Was it the?
Oh, not my.
Well, first of all, you got to get the name right. The Maryland Whip Snakes, and that's the reason I wore the hat frontwards because
and I said shout
PLL sent gifts.
I
I
know.
come bearing gifts.
I said shout out
it's a
them.
very,
It's
very nice hat. So
He
you know
didn't
what?
come
Now that
bearing
the Whip
gifts.
Snakes have gotten enough airtime, which doesn't exist, I will turn my hat backwards.
no. You don't have to
Oh,
turn your
look at
hat
the
back.
flow.
No.
Like-
Time out. No. It's going to do a disservice to the hat. You can leave it forward. I'm just saying you can be a big boy and not wear a hat on air.
I can't. do
I know
that.
you want to follow Zach's footsteps, which is
my part's
miraculous
on this side,
that
Zach.
you want to do
Zach,
that.
is my part on this side or this side?
Yeah, that's side.
So this part,
Oh,
I
let's
have
get
a
a
hard
zoom in there.
I have a hard part like right here
Yep.
usually, and I asked my barber does a fantastic job. I think I'm not talking crap on my barber, but I have a
Talking
hard part
crap about
here.
your
I have a
barber
hard part
live.
right here,
Mhm.
and if you can see, there's a line in my head now.
Oh yeah, there is.
There's some miscommunication at the barber shop between Tay the barber and Rocco. I said, "Hey man, I think what we should do this time is move the part over a bit because like my hair is kind of weird, and it's like it's not a him thing. It's just how my hair is."
Mhm.
I said move it over, and that's what I said, but I didn't really give him a direction. So he went and put it on this direction. So my part is now, can you guys see that? Yeah. Further
yeah.
down my head than I wanted it to be. So I'm kind of stuck with two parts now instead of one.
This is 100%.
Like, yeah, I didn't know how to really deal with that when I saw it in the mirror. So I kind of told him, I was like, hey man, like maybe if I don't like it, like the next time we can move it the other way. But here we are, man.
All right.
Good thing no one
I
ever
like-
sees you without a hat on.
I know, man.
Yeah, it's not like you work.
On
You go on television and
That's why
not
Brad
wear
gets
a
so
hat.
pissed off at me because I wear the hats. I'm sorry.
I don't understand. All right, moving on. So we're going to get into the MVP conversation. We're going to keep doing this every week, at least once a week, because it's fluid. And Dak Prescott went the hell off last night against the Eagles. It just seems as if the Cowboys are unbeatable in Dallas. 13 games in a row now in Dallas. Dak looked like somebody we hadn't seen before. And I should.
Oh, he's been like that for the last like 6
Does
weeks.
it pain you to say that, Brad?
No. So like, so
Brad's gonna throw up after we go off air.
What did I say though? I said that the Cowboys haven't played anybody that I've been impressed with. So they were supposed to kick the asses of all these other teams that they play because they've just been given like a cush schedule. And now, yeah, I mean, hey, listen, it beat the shit out of the Eagles, and Dak looked pretty damn good.
He did look pretty damn good.
The thing is can they sustain that, because their schedule isn't going to be good, or isn't going to be nice to them either. They got some pretty challenging games coming up, so I'll be curious to see how they fare against those teams. And so, hey, listen, got to give credit where credit's due. Dak played his ass off last night, looked great, and he is in the conversation for MVP. But so are some other players. And Keyshawn Johnson on Undisputed also talked about his. I wanted to get you guys' reaction to his list on the other side.
Probably be one of those people, Michael, as one of the biggest Dak supporters since he's been in the league. On record at many shows saying, even when he was trying to get his money and everybody's talking about you don't pay a guy that type of money. No, he's been, in my opinion, playing at a high level since he stepped foot. Yeah, he's had some interceptions and some turnovers here and there, but so has a lot of other quarterbacks. And because he's a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, yes, the scrutiny is a little bit more increased on him. No question about it. But Jerry is wrong. This is not, first of all, it's not a playoff game. Every game is a playoff atmosphere when you got two teams that are both good. The San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles a week ago, that was a playoff atmosphere, and San Francisco took care of business against them. When San Francisco played Dallas, that was a playoff atmosphere. San Francisco took care of them. But what I will say, Mike, you said, Michael, I will be one of those people that said he has to get this team somewhere they haven't been with him. And that's the NFC Championship game at least. At least to the NFC Championship game on his back. Repeat same performances along the way against Buffalo, against Miami, against Detroit. Close it out against Washington. If you can make that run, if you can go 3-1 in this stretch, hell, if you go 2-2, whatever the case may be. But when it comes playoff time, you need to have a repeat performance like you did against Tampa Bay a year ago.
Correct.
And then again in the second round, and then again in the NFC Championship game, because that's what everybody's waiting for. He is certainly an MVP candidate. He is certainly at the top of the leaderboard, sitting at 1, Lamar Jackson at 2, Brock Purdy at 3 for me, because he's playing like that, okay? Y'all joke with me and laugh when I say quiz and test, but you got to admit, he passed the test yesterday. There's a couple more tests that are going to come up. We know Buffalo is fighting for the division and the playoff spot. They may not catch Miami, but they're fighting to get in the playoffs. We know Miami's fighting to hold on to the number 1 seed with Baltimore. So those games are going to be must-win, tough games for the Dallas Cowboys on the road.
All right. So you kind of get the gist there. So Keyshawn Johnson's list was Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and Brock Purdy. We've kind of been talking about Brock Purdy and, that he might not even be the MVP front runner on his own team.
Which and you know what? You can finish that, but I disagree with that. But
I didn't say that everybody. We talked about Zach talked about that. Zach talked about
I will
McCaffrey
hand up. I'll say it again.
Yeah,
erroneous. Continue, Brad. I'm sorry.
Listen, they don't call him Big Cock Brock for nothing. I found it interesting that Lamar Jackson was number 2. I wouldn't say Lamar Jackson's number 2 in the MVP conversation. I still think Tyreek Hill belongs there, especially if he crosses over that 2,000 mark. But thoughts on his list? What would you change about it? Go.
All right. I think right now I'd actually probably give the edge to Brock Purdy. I'd do Brock at number 1 because of the fact I think that he gets knocked down. We talked about this last video, and actually a lot of people in the videos here were very against the fact that people weren't giving Brock enough respect. Zach, yep, there you are. But Brock Purdy, all he's done is at the highest QBR. You can't teach anticipation. If you watch that game yesterday against the Seahawks, his improvisation, extending the play and making some absolute dimes down the field. He's second in touchdowns. I think I said he's first in QBR. He's on the best team in the NFC. Arguably, it's the best team in the NFL. If they win out, I think it's probably going to be that he's going to be playing very well. He probably has a good chance to win it. I will say with this, Dak Prescott, if they win those big games, could possibly jump it because Dak is going to have to play at an extremely high level to win out. I think that's fair to say. They got some really tough games, and Dak's going to have to be a big reason. And Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson goes in and beats San Francisco like that, it does really feel like it's a 3-guy race. I think whichever one finishes, but I think Brock's going to get the nod for me if they go undefeated and finish out the season, because Brock Purdy's probably going to finish with going close to 40 touchdowns and being on the best team in the NFL. Zach, what do you think?
Tyreek Hill, number 1.
But even if Tyreek doesn't get to 2,000 yards, you're going to put him at number 1?
Well, he's going to get to 2,000 yards. So,
but if he doesn't,
that's not a question for me. That's not.
That is a question.
He's
so
going to get to 2,000 yards. So this is under the assumption. Let's go. Okay, this is under the assumption he gets to 2,000. Tyreek Hill's number 1. Christian McCaffrey's number 2. Dak Prescott's number 3.
No respect to Brock Purdy at all in that conversation.
No, he can be 4. He can be 5. He's still a top 5 MVP candidate. I'd put Lamar above him, but I just think with the weapons he has, yes, is he putting on an incredible show? Yes, is he doing everything he needs to do? But a Dak Prescott is having a more impressive season to me. A Lamar Jackson is having a more impressive season to me, even though I don't necessarily think Lamar's in the I wouldn't put Lamar personally in the top 4 or 5. I think he and Purdy are in the very similar area of outside chances, but I don't see how Brock Purdy's the MVP.
This is what I'm saying. So we're
talking,
Brad. We're talking the most valuable player on your team. If you take Tyreek Hill off the Dolphins, and what are they? They're not going to be 10-3 or 9-3 like they are right now. Take Christian McCaffrey off of the 49ers. We saw what happened when when Debo and Christian McCaffrey were injured and what Brock Purdy kind of was. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy isn't deserving or he shouldn't be in the conversation, but there are better players out there that I feel like are more deserving of the award if we're talking about the most valuable player on their team.
I think Brock Purdy is what the 49ers need right now. And I think he is, you brought up the argument of he's got too many weapons around him, or, you know, he's got so many weapons, but like football's a team game. The quarterback, their job is to get their good players the weapons. You can't knock a guy for having weapons and getting them the ball. Yeah. It's like, I think Brock Purdy's doing a very solid job with the Niners. I think here's the argument here then. Do you think Trey Lance would be in the same position? Do you think the 49ers would be in the same position if he was quarterback instead of Brock Purdy right now?
So here's the way I'll put it. I think if you were to lose either Brock Purdy from that team or Christian McCaffrey, you can put up a similar season, meaning they would be sitting around 8 to 10 wins with another quarterback. If Christian McCaffrey wasn't on this team, I'm not sure you could say the same.
Okay. I just want to make this point here real quickly because I do understand Tyreek Hill, what he's doing and how he's transformed and really helped. Mike McDaniel and Tyreek have really helped Tua, and that team is playing well. Now, that defense, the reason why they're winning more games recently, their defense is playing very well on top of it. But Jimmy Garoppolo being a quarterback, right? Jimmy Garoppolo had 1 year in San Francisco in 2019 where he threw 27 touchdown passes. That was his career high. Brock Purdy is at 25 touchdown passes with 5 to go? 4 or 5 games to go. So, and he only has 7 interceptions on the season. Jimmy threw 13. I know that interceptions aren't a big part of it, but Brock also is completing over 70% of his passes during this time frame. And I know you guys can say, well, it's easy completions, right? Jimmy Garoppolo has never had a season where he's thrown for over 70%. So I think Brock deserves a little bit more credit there. But yeah, if we're going to talk about if he went down and they had a valuable backup, the Niners could still stay afloat. It's not like if the Ravens. See, I don't agree with that.
Brandon, since I know you, you're an idiot. Brandon, he's an idiot.
Even though I do like Nathan Peterman.
We just listen. We pay Brandon no attention on this show.
What about Joe?
Idiot. It's my boy Brandon. He's an idiot.
What about? Well, I love that Joe. Well, Joe loves you, man.
I think Joe has a little man crush on me. He's not going to admit it, but you know what? Feelings mutual, Joe.
The feelings mutual.
About what? Did you have a man crush on Joe?
Yeah, Joe's a great guy.
Okay, there we go. We just want to clarify.
He hasn't sent me any Red Bulls, but you know, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right, Brad, to close it out. So you still think Tyreek would be your number one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we can agree to disagree on it. I think that's the fun part of this, actually. But I do think if Tyreek doesn't get 2,000 yards, the MVP race will come down to Lamar, Dak, and Brock. And quite frankly, it will come down to their last schedule. Who plays the best over those last 4 or 5 games might come out the MVP. And that's going to be exciting to watch, especially for the Ravens. They have the toughest schedule. Lamar can go into San Fran and win that and have a dazzling game. I think Lamar's going to jump above Brock.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And above Dak.
Yeah. If Lamar goes into San Francisco and, I mean, let's just say it ends up being like a Rams game out there where they just torch them. Yeah. The MVP conversation is going to get real loud around Lamar for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Well, speaking of MVPs, because we wanted to touch on one topic here, and then we're going to get out of here because we've been talking for a while. And this is actually going back to the baseball side of this because we were going to talk about it earlier, but talk about MVPs. The MVP of the American League is now on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I think the biggest part of this, one, we haven't talked about it, that everyone thought he was going to Toronto. They're tracking a plane. And then it turned out it was that guy from Shark Tank. His plane, by the way, or something like that.
It was like he and his daughter were going home to Canada, and everyone thought it was Shohei.
Yeah, amazing. Everyone was tracking this damn flight path, that this plane was delayed or diverted and going to Toronto.
I will say, Jared Carrabis, I think it was Carrabis, put out a tweet that I thought was hilarious and honestly, like, was very true about the whole situation, where he was like, I think all of us as baseball fans need to kind of take a step back. He was like, that got weird for a second when we were tracking that man's playing. He was like, I think we need to touch grass for a minute. He was like, everyone get offline for like 20 minutes because things got weird there when we were all arguing over which plane Shohei was on flying to Toronto while he was sitting in his home. That was the weirdest thing, was the report that debunked it was way too like specific. It was like, despite reports, Shohei Ohtani is sitting in his home in Los Angeles, California, deciding things. It's like, could just say he was in LA.
Did you guys see the whole JJ Watt thing about that? He kind of put things into perspective as far as media and everything goes. And he was getting on people for knocking Shohei Ohtani for kind of doing it his way, the silent way, and not going on this LeBron James world tour and kind of media talking and basically doing an interview like The Decision and saying, here's where I'm going. But he's like, you knock a guy for doing something like LeBron, and now you're going to knock a guy for doing something like Shohei. There's got to be an in-between there when it comes to that. It's like, let guys do what they want to do in free agency. If you want to go on and do a decision like LeBron, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. I watched it. That's something that's like a core memory that I will remember. LeBron making that decision and saying, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. That's in Shohei. I'm going to remember where I was when Shohei made his quiet decision and signed a massive 10-year, $700 million contract with the Dodgers. Speaking of, the deferrals are insane.
And that's where we wanted to get into this real quick. So Brad, you have the graphic of what this all entails.
Yeah. So this is ridiculous. And I actually put a poll up in our YouTube chat about whether or not this deal was bad for baseball. And maybe people don't really understand the context, because 75% of you are saying that no, it's not bad for baseball, while 25% are saying yes. So just a real quick, Shohei Ohtani, this is from Jeff Passan. Shohei Ohtani's $700 million contract calls for him to be paid $2 million a year for the next 10 seasons, with $680 million deferred to the end of the deal, sources confirmed to ESPN. The CBT hit on the contract is going to be around $46 million, a huge discount for LA. And the structure of the deal, yada, yada, yada. You can see that. So for me, I do think this is bad for baseball. And this is just a loophole for the Dodgers to get to skirt around the salary cap. And I just don't feel right about this part of it. And so look, Shohei Ohtani, get your damn money. $700 million is absolutely insane. This is a Bobby Bonilla 2.0 all over again.
It's even it's on steroids contract.
Field Yates, guys, he said Bobby Bonilla walked so Shohei Ohtani could run, Brad.
Yeah, Shohei's like, hold my beer. You know, he's going to get paid all the way out to 2043. And for me, like, this just, it feels like cheating. It's not cheating. They're not breaking any rules. It just feels that way. And I just don't think that this is great for baseball. This gives the Dodgers an unfair advantage, in my opinion, and something should be done about it.
It's definitely, it's people say the teams need to spend more, right? But then it's how do you spend it? But this is the unconventional way, because Shohei Ohtani is the one that actually went to the Dodgers and said, I want to defer this money so it can give our team a chance to bring players in. So like that to me is pretty good. But that's admirable. But when Shohei's done and they still have to keep paying, like Shohei's going to be on the books after they leave. So they're sacrificing this window of time. I'm not saying that this loophole needs to be looked at, because damn, they only have that be $2 million per year. Granted, the cap it being around 46 is different, right? But it's a way different way of thinking. And the Dodgers are saying this 10-year window with Shohei, we are all freaking in. And
yeah, but this allows, like, if he hadn't deferred, there wouldn't be no like chance they were getting Yamamoto, right? Like, and that's kind of like I like, again, I feel like this is unfair to other teams that maybe could have a chance, or what's the point in having the salary cap if you can structure deals this way?
Well, there's none.
Yeah,
and I think we're now getting one step closer to that. I think that's what this deal is going to, the consequences of this deal. I think we're not going to truly see what this deal has done to baseball until we get a few years down the line, because like you said, Brad, now we have word that the Dodgers do want to go fully in on Yamamoto as well. And if you build these contracts like this, all of a sudden, what's stopping, let's use a local example, the Orioles from going to a Gunnar Henderson and being like, hey, we'll give you $300 million, but we're not going to give you $200 million until 2040. And trying to do stuff like that. I mean, it changes the way that contracts are going to be negotiated, because we already had the dead money, the deferrals, but this is $680 million in deferrals. This isn't, $50 million is being put off for 10 years. This is $680 million being put off for 10 years.
We're living in an era where we're seeing these crazy contracts in every sport. You saw in the NFL with Deshaun Watson, and that's not even close to what Shohei Ohtani's making, but that guaranteed money, and it sets the tone going forward in negotiations and everything else, and it changes the landscape of things. So like you said, Zach, with the deferrals, it's like, wow, you can pay a player that much, that far down the line. Like
Jorge Mateo makes more money than Shohei Ohtani in 2024. Chris Davis makes more money in 2024 than Shohei Ohtani.
Did you see the numbers though? Who's he making more than? He's making more than what I forget what sports franchise off the top of my head, but what they're worth.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, probably multiple ones, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Shohei, if a Major League Baseball team is going for, I don't know, $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever it's going to be, and Shohei Ohtani is getting $700 million. I mean, imagine what he's getting in endorsement deals. The dude, after when it's all said and done, almost can afford to purchase a Major League team. Getting to the point, it's going to keep going up, but this deal is unprecedented. But it's also at the forefront that Ohtani was the one pushing for this. Like, I want to emphasize that. Yes, there could be a loophole, and maybe the Dodgers could have persuaded and said, hey, this will make us competitive. But Ohtani, what was the big thing why he wanted to leave the Angels, guys? Do you remember?
He wanted to win. There
it is, Brad. He wanted to win. He was tired of the mediocrity that was happening with the Angels, and you had Mike Trout there. You have two of the best players of this generation and of any generation on the same team, and you could not put together a winning roster, a winning formula. So Ohtani's emphasis, besides getting a shit ton of money, which he got, was I want to win. I want to be on a winning team. So I commend him for doing this. He's going to get his money one way or another. And for the Dodgers saying, well, we found a way to make this work, but definitely Major League Baseball is going to have to address this in the future, because this could be a different line of negotiating that could become very, very tricky as we move forward. But Ohtani's a Dodger. He's not in the American League. He's not in the American League East. Oriole fans, you already are dealing with Juan Soto coming to New York. Apparently, Yamamoto is trying to be recruited by Hideki Matsui to come to the Yankees. We're going to find out soon enough here. It's a lot of that. Talk about spiciness. This hot stove is still heating up. That's the thing that sucks with Major League Baseball in the offseason.
Does it suck?
No, this is what, okay, time out. This is what sucks is it's not like the NFL free agency where it's deals are being made before free agency has even started. It's like the reports are out, sources, this guy signed here, and it all happens in the wave really at once. In the MLB, it's a sit and it's a waiting game. You got to be patient. You got to wait for it. So,
because everyone was waiting on Shohei to sign, and then it's okay. Now where does Yamamoto sign? And then it's where's Montgomery sign? And then we can start the rest of the people signing.
And then
it's how baseball works. But I enjoy it. It's a slow burn.
You enjoy baseball?
It's okay. I'm still learning the sport.
Hey, I am too. And on that note, I think we wrap it up for tonight, guys. Can't thank Sean enough for coming on.
That was amazing. I love that.
Yeah, incredible.
I texted Josh Reimer, his PR person, who actually sent me a picture of him as a kid and your dad earlier, and I sent it to you, and you're like, what is this? I sent it to him without any context, and I told him, he's like, that's so cool. But he said Sean's down to hop on again anytime. So it would be great to have him on again.
Would
He's
love
fantastic.
to talk to him, see him more here in Maryland in the region.
Me and him got to get in the gym so we can.
Oh no, you know what? Honestly, I think for a subscriber count, I just want to see him take you down. Like what's the move?
Oh my! Could you imagine? I'll play quarterback, and we'll give him around the edge, lights out. Oh my God! For 20, if we get to 20,000, I would say.
Rip, I told you this, but I don't think I told Zach or Brad or our viewers that his dad Jeff Reimer called your pop's street game.
Yeah. So, actually Josh and I talked about, we were messaging back and forth before the show, and he was there during the record. And actually, I believe his dad's, the Blue Jackets doing a broadcast, absolute legendary career that no one really talks about, to be around for that long. So I can't wait to catch up more with him on all of this. So it was great. So Rocco, you're a good kid because you helped make the connection for this one. Hey man, thanks, Rock.
Good for something, guys.
There he is. This is like
it's
one
good
of
to feel loved for once in my life.
Well,
Thank you. My parents don't even say they love me. What?
I love how it's dead silent.
Did I say that out loud? Damn it.
You're a good kid. You're a good
Oh
kid.
my God. I love the fact that no one said a word.
No one said a word.
And
We
Rocco just
accepted it.
sat
We
there.
just accept it. Embrace the awkward silence, Rocco. Go with snakes.
Yep.
All right.
And you know what? I think we should get out of here. We're not playing Never Have I Ever either, Rock. We are getting out of here. Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, thanks again for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe on the way out. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much. And hey, actually, guys, this is our other news. It's the first episode we are having on the podcast platforms, by the way. So it's going to be, I think, available initially on Spotify and Apple. We're working to get it on Amazon and all those different ones that you have. So a different way for people to experience the show in whichever way you can. We want you to be here all the time because we love the interactions. We love roasting Rocco in person. There's nothing like it. But that's all we have for this show. From Brad, from Zach.
This is my, I realized I've now officially, this is episode 36, and I joined on 18, so I've officially been on more episodes than I have not. So you cannot get rid of me. You can't get rid of me.
We can.
Yeah, very easily. Actually.
Okay.
They can. I don't have a key to the studio. It actually would be very easily not to kick me out.
Very easily. And for Rocco, there he is in the Maryland Whip Snakes. Love it. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you next time for another episode of the Ryan Ripken Show.
Peace.
Hey, good job, kids.
Way to go.
Shut up, ugly.
Whoa. Oh, man.